A very good afternoon to you and welcome to today's edition of Joy Business Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and is brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, they say good energy, Goyle, Yanara, Yedia. Masterclass comes your way every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and runs all through to 2:15 p.m. here on your superstation Joy 99.7. My name, as always, is Yaw Barnafo, and I'm glad to be your host for today's edition of Masterclass. And so in the last couple of weeks, or let's say last 5 weeks here on the show, we have indeed had the privilege of speaking to some of the best academic and professional minds on communication. And here on the show, we've had the following gentlemen: Dr. Ike Tando, Dr. Joshua Doe, Dr. Daniel Odum, and Dr. Stephen Tindi. All of these fine gentlemen are from the University of Media, Art and Communications, UNIMAC for short. And they have taken us through a series of conversations or discussions, if you like, on the topics of branding, on the topics of digitization, on the topics of digitalization. The two are not the same, by the way. And also on the challenges between the two, which is digitization and digitalization. And these conversations, to say the least, have been super, super exhilarating. And I sincerely hope that you did not miss them. But just in case you did, please go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page or our X page, and you can watch them for yourself and pick up some learning points from there. A very big thank you to the gentlemen as well for coming through and sharing those thoughts with us. But like all good things, they come to an end. And today we move on to another rather interesting conversation on an area of conversation which I'm excited about, and you will find out why very soon enough. We're moving to the area of intellectual property. Intellectual property. I'll say it again slowly: intellectual property. Sometimes we hear all of these phrases in many conversations today, in the boardroom, in discussions and all of that. And even more so today because of social media. People talk about content and content creation. We're going to be learning about intellectual property in a few minutes. But before we continue, though, we take a quick break for some breaking news. When we come back, we continue.
And we have a major breaking story for you tonight coming out of the Ashanti region, to be very precise, in Obuasi. The Ghana Armed Forces is confirming in just in the last few minutes that there has been an incident involving one of its helicopters called the Z9 helicopter. The Ghana Armed Forces says the Z9 helicopter took off this morning at 19:12 hours from Accra and was headed to Obuasi. Currently, it's off the radar, as is they are not able to establish contact with that particular helicopter. As far as the Ghana Armed Forces is concerned, that helicopter has gone missing. There are currently efforts underway to re-establish contact with that helicopter. We know a few things as of now. As far as this developing story is concerned, there were 3 crew members and 5 passengers on board this helicopter. Now, this comes on the day when there was a major national event in Obuasi itself, that several dignitaries were in attendance and several more were billed to be there. Some of them we know were not present at the time that this event was happening. This had to do with the illegal mining menace that the government is trying to deal with. We're getting additional information as far as this developing story is concerned, with the confirmation coming in from the Ghana Armed Forces that it has lost contact with one of its helicopters headed for Obuasi in the Ashanti region this morning, left Accra around 9:12 a.m. They've lost contact, but there are reports that possibly there may have been a crash involving this same helicopter. A major breaking story for us tonight, this morning, that we are following for you. Elton is with me in the studio. We'll be working our sources to try and understand a bit more about what has been happening with this. And Elton, a lot of the calls we've made point to a crash.
Right. So Evans, that's the information we have. This took place somewhere around Adanse Akrofum in the Ashanti region. And information we have is that the aircraft and its occupants were on their way to this community mining concert that the government launched this morning. And it is unclear the passengers who are on board in this aircraft and the states that they are in at this very moment. But the pictures and the videos we've seen would confirm that the aircraft came down, caught fire. We've actually seen charred bodies of individuals on the floor. And so the Ghana Armed Forces statement says that they cannot locate the aircraft. What they are not telling us who were on the aircraft at the time it went down, and what steps are being taken. But what we can say for sure is that this community mining concept took place. It's actually ended, and high-profile government officials were expected to be there. Indeed, at the program itself, the last Natural Resource Minister was there. The Minister for the Ashanti Regional Minister was there. We will bring in our correspondent from Love FM shortly, who tells us the total list of government officials who were supposed to be there. It's unclear whether they made it or they are still in Accra or wherever. These are the lingering questions that require
a lot of
answers.
questions, and this is a breaking story. So we are following this from multiple angles. We'll go to the Jubilee House pretty shortly, because what we understand was that the president himself was billed to be part of the delegation that was supposed to be at this particular event.
What is coming up right now is that there's an emergency news conference in the next 20 minutes coming from the Jubilee House.
Jubilee House. So we'll get that for you also as far as this is concerned. But just quickly, reiterating the confirmation that we received from the Ghana Armed Forces, and this is the statement that they issued, that the Ghana Armed Forces helicopter Z9 that took off this morning at 19:12 hours from Accra and was heading to Obuasi is currently off the radar. And this is very technical language that the Ghana Armed Forces is expected to use in circumstances such as this. All efforts, quote, all efforts are being made to establish contact on board with 3 crew and 5 passengers. Further details to be communicated soon. Now, we've got a first hint of some very major incident when the Ashanti Regional Minister, who, by the way, also chairs the Ashanti Regional Security Council, was addressing that event in Obuasi and made this pronouncement. In fact, he confirmed that there had been an emergency. And so he had to depart that particular event abruptly to go and attend to it. Listen to him.
Say we are not emergency. Maha, I should have it's many MC for any commanders. There were 2 now handle side emergency. Ministers are covered. Remember, now you made the academy and no much share at the May. May I show you emergency problem? No, near Saba Abacam and Sana Mapo. Bama, we ain't see we many MCs living far. Nanya among them. Now you may be now, but sincere was your call.
And that there is Ashanti Regional Minister. Just confirming, he was speaking in Twi, but basically what he was saying is that he needed to leave abruptly to go and attend to an emergency. The emergency we now know is what the Ghana Armed Forces is now confirming to be 1 helicopter of theirs, the Z9, that they have lost contact with. Currently, in technical terms, is missing. They are trying to establish contact with this particular helicopter. But reports that we've now had from both our reporters on the ground and other multiple sources say this may be a crash that he now was pointing at as an emergency that he had to now leave this event and attend to. In the next few minutes, we're expecting a major news conference from the Jubilee House. We'll be going there shortly because my correspondent, the presidential correspondent, Max Olabagba, is there for us and will be joining us. We'll also be taking you to our reporter who is on the ground in the Obuasi. He was at this particular event, the launch
at Obuasi, and then the crash site, as we have been told, is at Danse Akrofom, which is about 45 minutes away from Obuasi. So they should be getting there any moment.
And I know you know this terrain very well. This is where you catch your teeth as a journalist. How far is it from the center of Obuasi?
It will be like 45 minutes from Akrofom to Obuasi, but maximum 45 minutes you should get there. And this is quite a mountainous area because of mining activities and related activities. This is a mountainous area. I wouldn't say that it is a forest area. It's a mountainous area. And so we're waiting for confirmation. I mean, we've seen videos and pictures of aircraft in flames. It's unclear whether this is what
and you see on your screens some of the videos that we are now beginning to get from this crash site. And that's what you see on your screens. A lot more needs to be confirmed here because this is developing a very, very fast-paced, fluid story we're beginning to understand a bit more about. First of all, if you're just joining us and wondering what's happening, there is a major breaking story coming out of Obuasi today in the last few minutes, just emerging, that involves a military helicopter that may have had dignitaries on board, some of them possibly ministers, but we know that there were 3 crew members and 5 passengers on board that helicopter, and that helicopter, we understand now, have crashed. The military says they have confirmed they have lost contact with that military helicopter, and they are now trying to establish contact. So what do we know for certain right now, if you're just joining us? The first thing we know is that the Ghana Armed Forces helicopter Z9 is involved. The second thing we know is that the Ghana Armed Forces lost contact with that particular helicopter. That helicopter went off radar. The third thing we know is that there were 3 crew members on the helicopter. The fourth thing we know for certain is that there were 5 passengers on board that helicopter. The sixth thing we know, and this is all we know so far, is that this helicopter was headed to a major national event on illegal mining. To be very, very specific, it was the launch.
I can even give you the details.
The details of the program.
If we do a bit of step back, so this program, these occupants were attending, had to do with the launching of the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program. And guess who was supposed to be there? President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, but we know that he couldn't make it because he had to attend to other events at the capital. And then the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. But we do also understand that some sector ministers who are related to the fight against illegal mining will also be able to be there and speak to it. It's unclear as of now the civilians who are on board this aircraft that the Ghana Army says is missing.
Indeed, and one of the things we'll do for you, I've confirmed at least the 6 things we know, if you're just joining us as far as this breaking story is concerned. We'll be going to the Jubilee House very shortly. Mark Solabagba is our presidential correspondent, and he will join us with a few additional details. One of the things that he told me, and yourself, before we came on air, because we're running around trying to figure out what's happening, is that the president had to cancel.
Event in the Central Region.
Exactly. The president has cancelled a lot of his activities. In fact, all his activities have been cancelled for today. And we want to understand why. Secondly, we know that there's going to be a news conference pretty shortly. An emergency press conference is going to be happening pretty shortly. Again, that will give us a bit more detail as to what is happening. But you can see on your screens there the smoldering flames of what appears to be a crash of this helicopter in question. There are a few things we don't know. Okay. First of all, this helicopter that went off radar, that the Ghana Armed Forces is confirming. Is it the same as what we're seeing the videos of? That's one thing. Second point that of course we don't know, the regional minister who chairs the Regional Security Council of the Ashanti region confirmed it was an emergency. And so he abruptly left this event and headed to try and deal with it. And that is understandable, because once it's happening in the Ashanti region, and he is the security chair, the regional security chair, such a major security incident, he would have to immediately chair the security operation to try and get it under control, right? The first thing he would have done was to say rescue,
of course,
right? If the plane has gone off, the helicopter has gone off the radar, the Ghana Armed Forces confirming they cannot track it on the radar. What has happened to it? They need to establish that first, and that is somebody who will be dealing with that. That's the regional minister who chairs the Regional Security Council. The third thing they will need to do is mobilize first respondents, ambulance, the military itself. We need to track and locate this particular helicopter. Also, because we had dignitaries on board. These are high-valued individuals who, by the way, I want to go to my colleague Bright. You see him in the vehicle now because he's headed to the crash site. And Bright, what can you report? Because you were on the ground covering this event at which this helicopter was headed, right? To which this helicopter was headed. What do you know so far? What are your sources telling you has happened?
As we already know, we understand that a helicopter that was headed for Obuasi has gone missing. We understand this helicopter was carrying some dignitaries or delegation from Accra to Obuasi, and we already know that Obuasi was hosting the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program that was organized by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And during these events, during the submission of the Ashanti Regional Minister, that's when we had indication that this incident had happened in the Asokwa municipality, Adansi Asokwa municipality of the Ashanti region. As we speak currently, we are headed to the place. We understand the place is around Sikaman in the Adansi Asokwa area. And so that is where we are headed as we speak now. And we are still trying to find where the helicopter is as of now. And until we find the helicopter, we'll be bringing you subsequent updates what is currently happening on the ground, and the people who are involved, the delegations who are involved, whether there are any government officials involved, and also the number of people that were involved in this particular incident that has happened in the Adansi Asokwa municipality. So as we speak now, we are still headed. We are looking for this particular helicopter that was headed for the Obuasi, but unfortunately got missing midway. That is around Adansi Asokwa area, and we are almost there. We are hoping to find this helicopter and update our viewers and audience in our subsequent bulletin. Evan, so this is what we can pick up so far.
If I may come in, so you covered this launch. Can you run us through the government officials who are supposed to be at this program?
All right, so Elton, initially from the MC's commentary, we understand that the defense minister was supposed to join this particular delegation to come to the event. But unfortunately, during the arrival, we only saw the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, that's Emmanuel Kofi Amabua, and also the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, coming to this particular event. And right after the submission of the Ashanti Regional Minister, he quickly sought for permission to leave the premises and go attend to this particular incident that has happened in the Adansi Asokwa area. So we understand that the delegation, it was just the defense minister that was supposed to join. Apparently, the president, that's John Dramani Mahama, as we've seen on the flyer of the program, was supposed to be the guest speaker for the event. But unfortunately, he couldn't join us. We do not know the reasons why he could not come. But we understand from the commentaries from the master of ceremony of the event, he said that the defense minister was supposed to be a part of the delegation that was supposed to be at the event. But we only saw the lands minister, the lands and natural resources minister, Emmanuel Kofi Amabua, and also the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amakohene, joining us at this particular event. We also had some dignitaries who were the Chamber of Mines. We're talking about the Environmental Protection Agency, who were all present at the event. But for those coming from Accra, we just confirmed that it was just the Defense Minister who was supposed to join this particular event. So, Elton, that is what we gathered from the event as well.
Right, how far are you from the crash site?
Okay, so Elton, as we speak now, we are headed to the Adansi Asokwa. I should say that some 15 minutes we should hopefully get around this particular area, that's the Sikaman area where the event unfortunately happened, and we'll bring you more updates in our subsequent bulletin. So Elton, that's what we can report for now.
So that's why the Ashanti Regional Minister, his comments that there was an emergency needed to attend to. The program went on successfully.
Yes, the program went on successfully. We had the Lands and Natural Resources Minister addressing the public or the gathering that was there, he assuring that the government is really committed to fighting the illegal mining menace through the responsible cooperative mining and skills development program. And we know that this program is here to replace the community's small scale mining and also the national employment and livelihood program that was introduced by the erstwhile New Patriotic Party administration led by the ex-president Nana Akufo-Addo during that particular regime. And so the lands minister addressed this particular gathering at the event. We even closed, and then we are headed for this particular area. That's where the incident happened, and we are headed for this. So for the event, it ended successfully. Everyone being addressed, the dignitaries all gave their solidarity messages, ensuring that the government's fights against illegal mining would actually be something that can be attained in the coming years. And you know, illegal mining, we understand illegal mining, over 5,000 hectares of lands have been destroyed through illegal mining activities. And Ghana, 40% of our gold exports are from the small scale mining industry. And so this event or this program that is coming would help regulate the small scale mining activities in the country. And so the Emmanuel Amabwa, who is the lands minister,
right. If you can just give me some few minutes.
Local participation will be done.
Right, so I just wanted to understand, I mean, from the perspective
of Elton, I can hear you.
Of the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council, have they provided any updates for the region in terms of what is happening now and what they are doing to get to the site of the crash?
Okay, so for now, Elton, we've not had any communication, official communication from the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council. We are trying to reach or establish sources with them and find out what they've been able to gather so far. Once the incident happened, a majority of the media rejoined the regional minister to go to the scene and ascertain what really are the circumstances that led to the helicopter that was headed for Obuasi going missing. And so, for now, we've not had any official communication from the Ashanti Regional Minister. Once we get hold of that, we will also give that to our audience and viewers at home. So, Elton, that is what we can gather so far.
And indeed, this is major. If you're just joining us on Joy 99.7 FM, also joining us on the Joy News channel, that my colleague there, Bright, who was on the ground, he's currently headed there. That's why he's in the vehicle to the crash site to try and get us a bit more clarity on what has happened on the back of this helicopter that the military confirms has gone missing today. They are still looking for it, and in the last few minutes, LT, we can confirm, as I've just been suggesting, that a search party is currently been dispatched to the site of the crash to possibly look for survivors, indeed, because on times like this, that's what you're hoping for, that you would find survivors. There are a total of 8 people who were on the flight that had gone off the radar as far as the Ghana Armed Forces is concerned. That plane, that helicopter may have crashed, but we have been told now that as it is the practice, the Ghana Armed Forces is dispatching a team to look for, search, possibly rescue those who may still be alive on the back of what has happened, and a few more things that we know tonight. And if you look at the program itself, we've made that disclosure earlier. The president himself was supposed to be there at this particular event. We don't know what plans were afoot for him to get there in terms of transportation. Either he was going to use the same helicopter or drive there, but it looked highly unlikely he was going to drive. Either he was going to fly or he was going to buy plane or buy this particular helicopter, because he had another program that he had been scheduled to attend today. We know that program, from what we're hearing, had been cancelled, and the only official confirmation we have tonight is from the Ghana Armed Forces that indeed something had happened. Our reporters are all over this. We'll get Maxwell to talk to us, and that there is Bright, who's heading to the crash site for us to get further clarity on this. I want to bring you the Ashanti Regional Minister confirming the emergency, and we'll get that for you if you're just joining us tonight. The Ashanti Regional Minister has confirmed that there is an emergency, that he had to leave the event abruptly to attend to. And as I've just said earlier, because he's the chair of the Regional Security Council, that is what you expect him to do. Right. He had to take this as an emergency, and that is exactly what he had attempted to do. He left, but that program continued. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister sort of held the fort. He was the main character there. The original plan was that the Lands and Natural Resources Minister was supposed to have been surrounded by many more of his colleagues who are part of this joint efforts to deal with illegal mining. And we know the Interior Minister, the Defense Minister, the Environment Minister, all of them were part of the initiative to try and deal with this menace called illegal mining. And they were all supposed to be there, because this is a major national assignment, all part of the efforts to try and deal with the illegal mining issue. And this was the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program. That's the program that they were launching, and all these individuals were supposed to be there. And he obviously took charge after the Ashanti Regional Minister had left to try and deal with the situation because he's the Regional Security Council chair and had gone to take care of what is happening. Shortly, we'll get a bit more once our colleague, Bright gets to the scene. We can give you a bit more clarity and get you live footage of what has happened or may have happened to this helicopter in your shot in the background, because this is a shot that we know. This helicopter we know from the Ghana Armed Forces is what they call the Z9 helicopter. The Z9 helicopter is something that we need to sort of understand what indeed it does. But the Ghana Armed Forces has been kind enough to give us a sense of this helicopter and what may have happened to it. As we speak tonight, the Ghana Armed Forces themselves tell us that they have lost contact. And this is something that was issued some time back. What they're trying to do now is try and locate the helicopter. We now know that they also have dispatched a team to the site to try and recover what they can, but also a rescue mission of a sort, which is the priority as we speak today. The president himself is a commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, and something like this, he will be briefed almost immediately, right? Almost immediately. And that is something that he would have been briefed on. What we're going to do is to try and get you a bit more about this particular helicopter in question and what it is for. I want to get in Loretta. I think a few additional things that we are getting. We need to be obviously very circumspect, of course, about what we know, because this is something that is unfolding. There's a lot of speculation out there that we cannot confirm for you, but we can confirm a few things. And many of you are tuning in and wondering what's happening. Let me go through for you what we know. The Ghana Armed Forces has confirmed a few things. The first thing we know is that they had a helicopter that departed Accra at 9:12, headed to Obuasi in the Ashanti region. That is 9:12 a.m. this morning. Now that helicopter shortly after takeoff, the Ghana Armed Forces confirmed that they then lost contact with the helicopter in question. So the helicopter went off radar. What they're trying to do now, again confirmed by the Ghana Armed Forces, is to re-establish contact with this particular helicopter. A few additional things we know that they confirmed is that there were 3 crew members on board. There were 5 passengers on board. The helicopter in question is called the Z9 helicopter. This is something that has been in service for quite a while. So this is a helicopter that we expect that the Ghana Armed Forces would have trusted. And if you know the very strict maintenance regime that helicopters will have to be subjected to, this is something that they have done quite an extreme work on in terms of the maintenance of this particular aircraft indeed. And so this is what was departing to the scene of this very major national event that the Lands and Natural Resources Minister was chairing, because he obviously oversees the fight against illegal mining. And also at the event was the chair of the Ashanti Regional Security Council, the regional minister, and we'll bring you his confirmation. That was the first time we got wind that something may be wrong, something possibly very catastrophic may have gone wrong with this particular helicopter, because he confirmed it was an emergency. Listen to him.
And I was for when I'm saying I company for a cooperative mining, no better to I'm a man with the entire name Yaba to my or Boasiha. Maybe it's in Ananum. We are no man whom ya, Yana emergency, Mara, I should have a corner by a corner. MC for only being commanders. There were 2 now Yaka handles I emergency Kakra. Ministers are covered to number now to make the academy no matter no much share at the Amaya. We are sure see emergency problem no near Saba Abacam and Sana Mapo. Bama, we are in a sea, we are many MCs living far. Nanya among them. Now Jumabi Nabas and see was a call, Nakutuana. With the Bessia, Namada Munamas Makushan.
Minister who is the chair of the Regional Security Council confirming that he had to leave abruptly to attend to a major incident. He calls it an emergency, so he left. he left the program, but as I said earlier, the Minister for Land and Natural Resources took over the event. At this event, we know the president was supposed to be there, and you see him shortly after he announced that there's an emergency. He shakes hands and then he leaves. You can see clearly on the screens there, as I'm watching this all unfold, there was what appears to be some commotion, and that is understandable. I mean, now that we know that a helicopter had gone missing, he had to leave immediately to go and supervise what was happening. But we have also heard from some of the local government officials in the Obuasi area in question, and a lot of this is unconfirmed, but in terms of just confirming the incident that we now know has happened from the Ghana Armed Forces.
Right. So we are also awaiting the official statement from the presidency. In the next few minutes, the Jubilee House will speak to this matter, and then perhaps we'll provide more clarity on this matter, especially the passengers on board, and what the plan is going forward, and what may have led to this unfortunate accidents, if you like. That's, I mean, from what we are seeing, difficult to tell the state of those who are on board this particular aircraft. But some people, I don't know what else to describe as first responders. Some people went to the scene when when the helicopter came down in their vicinity, and we'll hear from an assembly member who, together with others, went to the scene, and then right. So let's see if we can bring the assembly members' account on as we try to make sense of what really happened.
Okay, so we'll get that for you pretty shortly, because I know when we're confirming, we got wind of that. We spoke to the assembly member. He told us that this has happened, and so he has some information. The thing about that is we also know that we've been speaking to some of the police officers on the ground themselves, who have also confirmed to us that this has happened, and they had seen the flames of the helicopter when it first appeared to have crashed at the time. But Elton, a few things that we need to do also as we learn a bit more about this incident. You can, at this moment, when there is such a fluid developing story that is breaking, you work with what you know, and then you build on that. So one of the first things we know, as I've said, is that it is Z9 helicopter. So what are we learning? What do we know about the Z9 helicopter, right? That is important. It gives us a sense of what we're dealing with here in terms of the quality of the helicopter in question, how long has it been in service, etc. We know that this is a Chinese-made, and for those who know this helicopter, it's supposed to be a Chinese-made military utility helicopter, right? So this is something that you can use for quite a bit. It's quite agile in the way it operates. And its full name is actually called the Harbin Z9, okay? And it's twin engine, it's multi-purpose utility helicopter. So this is something that it's very efficient, has a very good track record in terms of flying and ability to maneuver, but also to do multiple tasks. Now, the Harbin Aircraft Industry Group is what they build. That's why you have the Harbin to the Z9. Of course, if you are in the Ghana Armed Forces, it will roll off your tongue as just simply the Z9, which is really what we saw the Ghana Armed Forces tell us when they issued a statement. But the Z9, interestingly, is based in the French Eurocopter AS365 Dolphin, specifically the SA365N, and was produced under license in China starting in 1980. So this also traced way back. It's not one of your latest helicopters, fifth generation helicopter that we see, for example, deployed in advanced countries like the Tomahawk, not Tomahawk, it's a missile, like the Black Hawks of this world. No, it's in its own terrain. A country like Ghana can afford it, and we've maintained it quite rigorously and robust over the period. Now, over time, China indigenized this design, right, resulting in variants such as the Z9B, right? And this is the latest incarnations of the Z9, the helicopter in question that we've been talking about, and then the Z9W. Right, so they have, over the period from the Z9, which is the basic one we've been talking about, which is involved in this major incident, has gone off radar. the search parties after it, they have evolved it, right? They produce a bit more of the Z9B and the Z9W, right? And it has a pilot and a co-pilot can fly it, obviously, but we know now that there were 3 crew members, right, on board. The passenger capacity is quite significant. 8 to 10 troops.
That's quite big.
Yeah, 8 to 10 troops can fly in the Z9. And that is why we're now learning that, of course, there were 5 passengers in it with room for more. And as we've heard, there was a likelihood that the President possibly could have also flown with them to this particular scene of the national event in question. So this is a helicopter that really can carry quite a bit of load. This is what we know about the Z9.
But I've been on some of them before. I remember, I think about 3 years ago, when the MPP was in government. Remember the matter that took place at Kintampo, where some people died from flooding another matter. The Vice President had to go and visit them. So we went in if I'm not mistaken, a similar aircraft too. So we're a lot about 10 to 15 people were on board. And it is said that it doesn't fly so high. So sometimes even on board you can have access to internet, telecommunication and stuff.
And
like
it's
that.
not surprising, because if you read about the Z9, one of its biggest attributes is reconnaissance. So they can use it for reconnaissance.
Right.
But if you do reconnaissance, you're not going to be flying that high, because you need to be able to observe what is happening beneath you.
Yes, and because usually for short distance travel, there's so much noise in there that you are given a headphone just to protect your ears from. So
typical when you're in the cabin of a helicopter.
Exactly. So it doesn't fly so high, and it is unfortunate that this is what we've come to as far as this matter is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, and interestingly, we've been talking about the rescue efforts that may be underway right now, dispatching the team there. The Z9 also is very good for rescue missions.
Okay.
Right, and so you'll be expecting that. I don't know how many the Ghana Armed Forces will have as part of its fleet of helicopters, but if they want to get to the scene very quickly, they may dispatch one more Z9 helicopter to the scene of this particular possible crash. And often in Air Force terms, if you lose a craft, if you lose it off your radar, it's a sign that something
is gone wrong.
Often catastrophically. Because helicopters don't just drop off radar. They just do not drop off radar, which is what the Ghana Armed Forces is confirming that has happened. They would have tracked it all the way. Also because it was on a high-valued mission carrying high-value passengers. And by the way, that is the government's chief spokesperson, Felix Kwachifosu, in your short live, and this is because we expect it. That there may be
an official announcement,
an emergency national address that he may speak to. The president may decide to speak to it, considering the gravity of what is happening. But we're expecting this to unfold. And if you're just joining us here on the Joy News channel, what you're watching is a live footage from the Jubilee House, and you see there Felix Kwachifosu about to address the country on what has happened over the last few hours today. Whatever it is, we are not far away from getting the specifics of this. We're not far away from getting
because
the specifics
obviously maybe for the Ghana Armed Forces, because they've declared this helicopter missing, they won't be able to put out a lot of information. Otherwise, we will have the manifest to tell who were on board this particular aircraft. But because they say that for now it is missing, that's probably the reason why we are not getting more information from the Ghana Armed Forces. But perhaps, as far as governance is concerned, obviously they know the state of the individuals who are on board, and perhaps that's the reason why this news conference is happening in some fear. And you can clearly see the body language of Felix, clearly dejected. Yeah, so the body language tells you something really, had gone on, and it's not something that everybody should be happy about. So preparation underway. You can also see Standogo, Deputy Chief of Staff, getting the place ready for this very important news conference. Once you see
Stan directly involved, we may be
the president himself coming to address.
It's possible that we may hear from the president himself because you see Stan involved. If it was an ordinary press conference, I don't expect to see Stan anywhere near that, because Felix and his team would have just set the stage up for this to happen. And another thing, and we're learning always, Yes, and from what we're learning also, we saw that what appears to be the official chair that the president sits on in some public events may have involved there too. But yeah, I mean, it's very possible that we can expect to hear from the president. Now, in terms of this particular helicopter though, it has been in service for the Ghana Armed Forces for a while. I mean, the first times we acquired it, we acquired several of them, and the Z9 in 2010, early 2010, right thereabout. The fundamental reasons at the time why we acquired it, remember that we began commercial production of oil in 2010. So we acquired the Z9 at the time to help with our offshore monitoring activities. At the time, we have deployed our first FPSO. And the FPSO is such a very expensive, piece of vessel that it was essential at the time to have our Navy, the Ghana Armed Forces coordinate in ensuring that its protection and safety, etc. So that is at the time, early 2010s, where we acquired the Z9 helicopter, which currently is involved in this major incident to link to the oil and gas sector support. But there was also a time that we deployed it for peacekeeping operations and other military uses, right? So we have used it for a long time. Okay. And as this unfolds, we will begin to sort of learn more about what may have happened, right, to this, what looks like a very efficient aircraft, helicopter in the fleet of the Ghana Armed Forces. Now, it's such a devastating news to learn that a total of 8 people were on board and may have been affected by this. And as we've been saying, it's absolutely premature for anybody to come to a conclusion as to what may have happened to those on board. What we can tell you for certain tonight is that the Ghana Armed Forces, working with the other agencies, are doing everything they can to get to the scene, but also to activate rescue efforts as far as this is concerned. And of course, for those of you just joining us and wondering what this is all about, and as we watch there on your screens, our reporters driving to the scene of this crash, so we can get you the very latest information on this. And you see on your screen also the very first live footage of what appears to be a crash, the smoldering remains of a Z9 helicopter also in your shot. And for the first time when we're, of course, breaking news such as this, I'm holding my phone, you are holding your phone. Why? Because
very unconventional.
Because information is coming in
every second.
This is very fluid indeed, trying to get the very latest on this as it unfolds for you. And so yeah, the curse of a journalist doing a breaking news cycle such as this, major one, is that you will not get everything right. But what we're trying to do is to stay within the parameters of what we know. And the news conference that is going to be held shortly from the Jubilee will fill in the blanks for us. Because you're working off sources. Yeah. And until we can confirm, we're not telling you. And so, yes, you may have heard stuff. Yes, you're pushing us to say confirm, but we can't. Unless we know for certain, we can't tell you. We've told you what we know.
And Evans, I also see a lot of speculations on social media. Yeah. The rumor mill is at its peak. People are mentioning names as possible passengers on the flight. It would be difficult to put out any name out at this very moment. We don't even have the manifest to start with. We didn't put out the name there. And I'm sure that's the reason why the news conference likely to be addressed by President John Mahama will put to rest all the questions that you may have on this particular matter. But what is clear is that the Ghana Armed Forces is reporting a missing helicopter. And we've got video of a helicopter that came down, caught fire, and we've seen shattered bodies of some individuals who are on board. It is still an allegation as of this moment. The military themselves is not providing additional information beyond the fact that the aircraft went off radar, and as we speak now, they've not been able to identify it. It took off from Accra at 9:12 a.m. Going to Obuasi in the Ashanti region for this community mining program. The Ashanti regional minister confirmed that there was an emergency, the reason why he had to cut short his attendance to that particular program, and then went off. But the program went off successfully. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister saw it through. Now it is emerging that there is some truth to the allegation that, or the rumor that we heard. The confirmation, we are waiting for an official announcement that will come from the presidency, President John Mahama, in the next few minutes. And then, of course, we will start the questions and then the reaction that will come out of it. But clearly, this is a Black Wednesday for the Republic.
And one of the things that we want to do for you is try and get the help of Google Earth.
Right.
Because we know this area is called what again in the Ashanti region?
Akrofom, Adanse Akrofom.
And that, by the way, is a Google Earth image of this Akrofom area, where the plane, the helicopter may have crashed. One of the things you immediately notice is the vegetation on your screens. This is a heavily forested area. It looks like from the Google Earth images that we are now showing you on the television. It looks like a very heavily forested area. Even from the live vehicle footage that we are bringing you right now from our correspondent driving, you see both flanks of the road is heavily forested. And you see that in your shot there, right? And this is the area in question in your shot. This is Adanse Sikaman.
The claim is that this is the exact spot the aircraft may have come down.
Okay, and I just want to show you in this place in question. This is the area here in question. This is that Adanse Sikaman area. That is the exact area where the plane may have crashed in the area. And we are zooming in for you. So you see the heavily forested area around it, but then you have this small patch of settlements, a bit dispersed in the middle of the forest. And this area may be the area where the plane, the helicopter may have crashed.
Right.
Today. And Elton, you know this area. You know this general area, right?
You can say that.
You're not surprised that it's this heavily forested, right?
It is, and it's clearly a mining area as well. So you see a small community in the middle of a forest. That's at least according to Google Maps, that's what we are seeing. And even actually the video in circulation, you will see that it actually fell into a forest. I mean, it came down with some trees as well, and then caught fire in the process. So the entire enclave is Adanse Akrofom, but the exact spot, according to the information we are getting, is Adanse Sikaman.
This is the area here that you're looking at from this Google Earth map. And the thing about it is, because it's heavily forested areas aren't good for helicopters.
No.
Because of the propellers. And so if a helicopter is going down and it's going down in a heavily forested area, it often doesn't end well.
But the thing is also that maybe they will provide more clarity on what may have happened. Because this is quite far from where the program took place. Quite far, at least about 45 minutes to an hour drive from this place to Obuasi Township. So unless maybe a technical or a mechanical fault could be attributed to it, it will be difficult to understand why it came down at this particular area, which is about an hour drive from Obuasi. I mean, no activity happening here. And yet this is the spot where the accident took place.
And that obviously is something we're watching very closely. And this rescue teams, by the way, a few additional videos that we are now getting, as you see, some we don't know whether these are official rescue operators, but it looks like, and this tends to happen a lot.
Yeah, this is local area boys who are trying to help.
Yes, who are trying to cut their way into the forest and to try and rescue and get people out as much as possible. Now, in the age of social media and mobile phones, what you see is a lot of people there holding their phones and taking photos. And the thing that we're saying when this first broke is that if this really happened, and I was making that point to you, in today's age, we should see videos and pictures very quickly. But it took quite some time to see the first pictures coming out. And it's now we understand when we look at the Google Earth map why this is the case, because it was heavily forested. To get to the scene of the crash itself will take time. And it's also very possible that the quality of your network, the cell towers in the area, will be difficult in establishing the network coverage in the area. So even if you get to the site and you film anything, sending it back on WhatsApp will be difficult. So it took quite some time, about an hour or two, before we started seeing the first pictures emerge from our sister station Adom, sending us that. But this is the area we are looking at, the Sikaman area in the Obuasi Ashanti regional enclave where this this helicopter may have gone down?
Well, like I said earlier on, I mean, there are so many questions that we want answers to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just asking myself, why this area?
Yeah.
When this place is quite far from Obuasi. So perhaps, I mean, a mechanical issue, a mechanical fault may be an issue, but the Ghana Armed Forces is not speaking to this matter as of now, because they themselves are unable to tell where the aircraft is.
Yeah.
But there is I know there is a military detachment at the Anglo Road Ashanti mines, which is also not far from. There is also a 4BN in Kumasi. Mm-hmm. It is almost an hour or two into this incident, so let's possibly wait a little while we hear the official account of what happened.
Okay, we'll come to eyewitnesses who may be giving us some clarity too on what they may have seen happen on the ground there. If you're just joining us right now, this is terrible news indeed, also because we're learning about new things all the time. We're now obviously getting a first-hand appreciation of what this area, this crash site may look like, heavily forested area. Always not good for helicopters. Even the best of helicopters sometimes get tangled once you sort of come too low or some mechanical fault has happened. But this also is an aircraft, a helicopter that has been in service with the Ghana Armed Forces for quite some time. As I've been explaining, the Z9 helicopter is Chinese made, but also some helicopters that we had acquired in the early 2010s as part of our efforts to safeguard our offshore assets when we began commercial production of oil. And so we have bought a few. At the time when it was coming in, we could afford the helicopter, so we did. And I know the Ghana Armed Forces, they do not take the maintenance of their crafts for granted. And so we expected that this is a helicopter that indeed would have been heavily serviced and cleared to fly. But as you know, with machines, anything could go wrong. What we don't know is if anything had gone wrong as far as this helicopter is concerned, and we would be getting the very latest from this news conference that they will be addressed. And from everything we've seen, it's very possible that the president himself, the commander-in-chief, will be addressing the country pretty shortly on this major incident that we are learning about as far as the helicopter is concerned. And by the way, as far as this helicopter is concerned, I've seen reports of its service record, right? And whether or not it may have been involved in incidents in the past, right? We'll try and get you that, because that gives us a sense of this, right? That gives us a sense of this in terms of what it has, the operations it may have embarked on in the past. And just so clarifying, I get a sense that it may actually have been involved in some incidents in the past.
In the past.
Yeah, that we need to obviously clarify.
There's this 2024, emergency landing. It's unclear whether it is the same aircraft involved.
Yeah, we can listen to one eyewitness who is sharing with us what he may have seen.
say free business man. The tea and say you have been foolish. One year for the tea and say be judgy. The tea and you say clear na asho. The tea have say be obi here mo dia. You go want to ya one. Ba me nam kwa so aye kro na me ne bla ba friend just here kro na. Ana me nua ehia aye. Dia man ya babo say we din kan ho for say play ni judge ma aye. The nipa ba ko dia wa te. E ma wada ho na ya kan dey judge ma aye. Ampa ye ko ene play na asho. I'm the judge them to.
Okay, nipa be say na.
Nipa ne dey mintimi nkan nipa do mo ne mo nipa ba ko pe. Nipa ba ko pe no wa hwe. Na hwe a wa hwe do ade me ehu en say ne nsa. Ene ehu say nipa. Ana
Take it live now to Jubilee House. That's the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, addressing the country.
And sympathies to the families of our comrades, the servicemen who died in service to the country. All flags are to fly at half-mast until further notice. Thank you.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Nobody is here and say free business man. The tea and say you have been foolish. One year for the tea and say be judgy. The tea and you say clear na asho. The tea have say be obi here mo dia. You go want to ya one. Ba me nam kwa so aye kro na me ne bla ba friend just here kro na. Ana me nua ehia aye. Dia man ya babo say we din kan ho for say play ni judge ma aye. The nipa ba ko dia wa te. Emma wada ho na ya kan dey judge them aye. Ampa ye ko ene play na ahwe. Am dey judge them to.
Okay, nipa be say na.
Nipa ne dey mintimi nkan nipa do mo ne mo nipa ba ko pe. Nipa ba ko pe no ahwe. Na hwe a wa hwe do ade me ehu en say ne nsa. Ene ehu say nipa. Ana ne bu mu say ehu say nipa. Ana ne ti. Ba ne kan dey. Ba ho nyina hwe ada.
Aye nipa.
Sikama no.
Aye sikama go.
nobody is here and say play business. The tea and say you have forest. One of your fool. The tea and say the tea and you say play on our show. The tea and you be here more dear. You can one. But my name was why I corona and Blabba friend just near corona. And I mean you dear man, your boy, so I didn't count how to play to get the mind. The people are putting your watch. Emma, get the mind. I'm by a point you play now. I'm the judge them to. Any papa say now. Any papa dear, mean to me candy part of home, any papa could pet. Any papa could pen wash it. Now see how I should be a mere ways and suck. And you who say you papa. And on the boom say who say you papa. And then it's one can hear. But when you not here, I have come out. I see come out. Nobody is here and say play business. The tea and say you have been forest. One of your fool. The tea and say the tea and you say play on our show. The tea and you be here more dear. You can one. But my name was why I corona and Blabba friend just near corona. And I mean you dear man, your boy, so I didn't count how to play to get the mind. The people are putting your watch. Emma, get the mind. I'm by a point you play now. I'm the judge them to. Any papa say now. Any papa dear, mean to me candy part of home, any papa could pet. Any papa could pen wash it. Now see how I should be a mere ways and suck. And you who say you papa. And on the boom say who say you papa. And then it's one can hear. But when you're not here, I have come out. I see.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the final countdown after weeks of bragging and weeks of showing titles won from last year. Who will win what at Saturday's Joy Sports Invitational Tournament starting at 6:30 a.m. sharp with a 5-kilometer walk with the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Julius Debra. So, what do you win and who will you battle against? All of it will be on the lush green pitches of the University of Ghana Stadium as part of this year's Joy Sports Invitational Tournament 2025. This will be a big spectacle. You get yourselves ready. Come, look vibrant, and make the most impact as well as grab some of the honors so you can have the bragging rights for the next 1 year. The Joy Sports Invitational Tournament 2025 is sponsored by Akono Ginger, Ifriwara, Ayuda, Ghana's #1 services app, Abaku Services Bibre, Diva, a taste you will love. Yomi Yogurt, a nourishing choice. The luckiest, *712#, luck is everywhere. The Joy Sports Invitational Tournament is put together by Joy Sports, the thrill of the game. See you on Saturday.
Kwame is cooking up the perfect multi-bet, ready to serve to all his friends and followers. He's using Betway's Bet Influencer, a new sports betting feature where he can make money just by sharing his 99.7.
Minister for Defense. Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Muhammad, MP, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Lemonad, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator and former Minister for Food and Agriculture. Dr. Samuel Sapon, Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress. And Mr. Samuel Abuaji, a former parliamentary candidate. Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manin Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensa. The President and government extends our condolences and sympathies to the families of our comrades and the servicemen who died in service to the country. All flags are to fly at half-mast until further notice. Thank you. Manin Chum Okwajiman, who is with us here, and the government of Ghana. I have the unpleasant duty, sadly, to announce a national tragedy involving the crash of a military helicopter this morning around the Adansi area in Ashanti region. Government regrets to announce the demise of the following persons in the tragic crash. Dr. Edward Kofi Omane-Boamah, Minister for Defense. Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Muhammad, MP, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Lemonad, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator and former Minister for Food and Agriculture. Dr. Samuel Sapon, Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress. And Mr. Samuel Abuaji, a former parliamentary candidate. Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manin Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensa. And government extends our condolences and sympathies to the families of our comrades and the servicemen who died in service to the country. All flags are to fly at half-mast until further notice. Thank you.
Is the Chief of Staff a short while back confirming the tragic news. Something we've been fearing all afternoon, the death of the Defense Minister, Omane-Boamah, and the Environment Minister, Murtala Muhammad. Both gentlemen together with 6 others have died from the helicopter crash at Adansi. We'll be just been showing you the site of this particular crash. This is indeed a very tragic day in our republic. And I've done this job for 21 years. The only time I have felt the way I'm feeling right now is the 24th July 2012, when the sitting vice president died. I remember where I was. You do not forget incidents such as this. I remember where I was when the statement came in from the Flagstaff House at the time, confirming the death. If you're just joining us, in a short while back, the Chief of Staff just confirming to us the death of Omane-Boamah, the demise of Omane-Boamah, and also we also know that the Environment Minister was also on board. He's also dead, confirmed. And a host of other very
Dr. Samuel Sapon, former KMA mayor, and until his demise was the vice chair of the NDC, a very known NDC figure in the Ashanti region. Also, he also passed on. And then the NDC parliamentary candidate in the Obuasi West constituency in the last election, Samuel Abuaji, also was among the dead. And of course, the Deputy National Security Coordinator, we are told, was also on this particular flight. Murtala Muhammad, as you may be aware, is also the Member of Parliament for Tamale North constituency. Until today was the Environment Science Minister, before he once served as Deputy Trade Minister in the Mahama First Administration. So these are people who have who would describe as were the key individuals of the NDC. Dr. Manebuama, for example, the last election he served as director of elections for the NDC, a very close ally of President John Mahama, and
it was just a few hours, a few days back. Indeed, I was chatting him. I'll talk about it. I want to go to Maxwell now, our presidential correspondent, who is joining us now from Jubilee House. Maxwell, let's go over what we've learned from the Chief of Staff.
Yes, Evans, indeed, that confirmation came from the Chief of Staff here at the presidency just some minutes ago. Let me say that it was a moment that many people feared. It was a confirmation that a lot of people were waiting for news about, this plane crash. They were hoping that there would be a confirmation that it never happened, at all. But unfortunately, the sad confirmation about this plane crash has just been given by the Chief of Staff, Julius Zebra. And indeed, in the auditorium where the announcements, took place, you could actually cut the emotions in the room there with a knife. We had some of the top officials of government, all of them present during that announcement. I spotted Education Minister Haruna Idrisu, and at the time that he was introducing or telling us what the press conference was going to be about, you could hear his voice shake even when, he did the announcement. And indeed, it's a steady stream of people pouring in here at the Jubilee House right now. You can see in a shot right now going is the chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Jensen Esiedun Ketia, who's just arrived here at the Jubilee House. It's a moment of mourning for everybody here at the presidency. I can see Presidential Special Aide Joyce Bawa Mukhtari also arriving here. Uncontrollable tears here at the Jubilee House. And even before that briefing by the Chief of Staff, you could see the moment of grief on the faces of everyone present in the auditorium. Present there, we had the Vice President, who was also there in the room. We had Al-Hassan Suhini, ministers like Al-Hassan Suhini was also present, Education Minister, like I mentioned, Haruna Idrisu was also present in the room. Government Communications Minister Felix Kwachufus was also present in that room. He was not the one who did the announcement. We had the Chief of Staff in charge of Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of operations, Stan Dogbe, also there, in that auditorium. So really, when you come here to the Jubilee House, it's a moment of grief. Just hours before we received that confirmation, we saw people moving around on their phone, but you just couldn't tell what exactly was happening. So first, it was the rumors, that started swelling here at the presidency, with nobody willing, to confirm what had happened. So although we were here present here at the Jubilee House at a time when the announcement of the plane crash had happened, some media houses, especially for colleagues who were in the regions, announcing that there was a plane crash. There were colleagues here at the presidency who are part of the presidential press corps who did not have an idea whatsoever about what had happened. So we were together in the media briefing room when the calls started trickling in from our various newsrooms, calling to confirm the information from us. Indeed, earlier today, we had the Government Accountability Series, and the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Emilia Atta, was the one who addressed that press conference. So the usual routine was for members of the Presidential Press Corps to sit in the media briefing room within their workspaces to work on the audios and videos, to work on the story for publication by their various media houses. But that routine did not continue today. In fact, there was a pool that was supposed to travel together with the president to the central region. So the president was scheduled for two events, had two events today. the National Vaccine Investment Forum, and then which happened at 10 a.m. at the Kempinski Hotel, and then an event at 2 p.m. which is going to take place in the Central Region. It was an event being organized by the Assemblies of God Church in the Central Region, and the president was expected to be there at 2 p.m. But this is what happened. So just minutes before the team of pressmen, the Presidential Press Corps, moved from the Jubilee House to take the lead to that event, we got the information that that event had been cancelled. That 2 p.m. event that the president was supposed to be present there had been, cancelled. So it was at this point that the news started trickling in, a lot of people getting to know that indeed a plane crash had happened, and some ministers were actually on board, with some of them feared dead.
And Maxwell,
but now indeed we've had the confirmation from the chief of staff.
And Maxwell, I know you've also been told a few more things about whether or not the president was also scheduled to be on this particular helicopter to this same event in Obuasi. What more do you know about that?
Question again.
Hello, Maxwell. I was, and I know I can see in your shot there a few more, senior members, either of government or the party, coming to Jubilee House. But I want to quite quickly find out from you, earlier when we were speaking, on the flyer communicating the dignitaries who were expected to be present at the event in Obuasi, the president was himself billed to be there. Have you gathered any additional information whether or not he was also billed to be on this helicopter with the now deceased Defense Minister and Environment Minister?
Well, what we've been picking from deep throat sources here at the presidency is that usually when there is an event like that, the president, would have a schedule, and he would have a schedule on whether he will be present, or not. A deep throat source that I've been speaking to seems to suggest that there was a clash. There was a clash of events. That is the 2 p.m. event that I talked about that the president was supposed to be at. That is the Assemblies of God, pastors and pastors' wives of the Assemblies of God Church. That event was supposed to take place in the Central Region. So that deep throat source that I've been speaking to tells me that, so there was a clash of shadows. That's what that source is telling me. And that source says that, but for that clash, perhaps the president, would have been at the Obuasi, event as well. That is the mining event that was taking place in the Ashanti region. Of course, we've heard the president many times demonstrating his commitment to saying that he's committed to the fight against illegal mining. And indeed, this is an issue that is very dear to his heart. So that deep throat source tells us that, but for that clash of shadows, the president would have been at that event at the Ashanti region. And indeed, a confirmation that we got from that was his picture on that flyer. And I'm sure many have seen that flyer making rounds, on social media. So, but for that event, in the Central Region, that is the church event in the Central Region, this source suggests to us that the president would have, taken off, to the Ashanti region for that mining event at Obuasi. Once again, this is information we are gathering from our sources here at the presidency, Evans. But you mentioned that those you saw in the shot earlier, so it was the Sports and Recreation Minister. He was the one working with the Fisheries and Aquaculture Development Minister. He was consoling her. The minister, just about 3 hours ago, took her turn here at the Government Accountability Series, but she's had to return here to the presidency because of this sad event that is,
that we just received confirmation on. Now, if you move about 100 meters away from where I'm standing, there's a meeting ongoing between top government officials. So the chief of staff is.
Well, I get somebody go there.
The vice president is also in that. Meeting. The military high command is also present. In fact, we saw the chief of defense staff was actually in the auditorium during the announcement of the death and the confirmation of the aircraft. So there's a meeting, going on just about 100 meters away from where I'm standing. All the ministers, all the top government officials who came for the announcement by the chief of staff are still in that meeting. And already I've seen some flags here at the presidency flying at half-mast as directed by the chief of staff, Julius Debra.
And Maxwell, thank you. Maxwell, you stay with us throughout this because, as we know, that is the seat of government. The commander-in-chief himself, we know, is there. Flags are flying at half-mast tonight. And because the commander-in-chief is expected that sometime later today we may hear from him himself. And whilst Maxwell stays with us, you also see on your screens our team of reporters now are in the Sikaman community. That is a community where the helicopter crashed, and that's what you see there. My colleague Bright is there for us. We'll be getting more first-hand account of what really happened with this helicopter that went down, leading to the death of the defense minister, Dr. Yaw Anim Murtala Mohammed, who is environment minister, and six others. And let's go to the list now for those listeners who are joining us right now, either on Joy 99.7 FM, but also watching us on the Journey channel here on the multitude.
So, Evans, according to the chief of staff, Julius Debra, these are the confirmed individuals that lost their lives in this crash that we are talking about. The Minister for Defense, Dr. Yaw Anim Barnafo, who was also the NDC Director of Election, played a key role in the 2024 elections. That's when the NDC win. He was on his way to Obuasi when this happened. Dr. Edward Omanebwama, the Minister for Defense. There's also Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, the Member of Parliament for Tamale North and the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. That's Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. Also on the flight, unfortunately, died is Alhaji Muniru Mohammed, is the acting Deputy National Security Coordinator. He served as Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture in the Mahama First Administration, but currently, until his demise, was the Deputy National Security Coordinator. There's also Dr. Samuel Sapon. For those in the Ashanti region, you will know him better. Started work as the head of the COS Ford Office, now in Yorko. He was the Ashanti Regional Director in charge of Ashanti and Ebono region. During the Mills administration, he became the KMA mayor, and then at some point decided to contest the vice chairmanship of the NDC. He won in the party's last Congress. So until his demise, he was the vice chair of the NDC. Dr. Samuel Sapon, very well known in the Ashanti region. So, and there's also, so Evans, these are the individuals. There's also Samuel Abuaje. He was the NDC parliamentary candidate for Obuasi West constituency in the 2024 elections. These are the civilians who are on board. Now, the Ghana Armed Forces also released the names of individuals who were on board this, doomed aircrafts. And they are Squadron Leader Peter Anala, and then the